Our speaker today is Nadi, and she is going to speak on the sacred geometry of crop circles. And we're delighted to have you come today and get us all up to speed on crop circles and sacred geometry. I can't tell you, it's so exciting. So come on up, Nadi, and we'll get going.
Hey, it is so wonderful to be here. Thank you. Oh man, we are in for a treat. This is going to be a powerful hour. Like, I want to prepare everybody that you might leave a little bit altered. You might experience some differences after this. It might be interesting to look at your dreams or just sort of watch in the next week. Just curious, maybe nothing. But the crop circles are more potent than you might think, and they're activating us down to the level of our DNA. We are coded for this activation, and the crop circles are a part of the intelligence. Yeah, nods of the head. All right. The geometry and the technology of how these are made is directly interfacing with us and our field and each other. So I'm going to throw so many facts out to you. Nothing is going to be retained. This isn't about linear or rational or any kind of memory. This is just going to be absorption. If you find yourself a little bit overwhelmed with some of the images and all the information, maybe just take a deep breath. We might pause throughout it to just pause and sit with the energy of them. But there's so much that the best way to be with them is to just breathe and receive and tune in. You could even tune me out, but I'll keep going with some really cool facts. And I think I'm going to launch right in, not with the lights yet, but just one more thing. Yeah. It can be tricky to talk about crop circles because it's pretty fringy. And there's been a lot of disinformation that's been put out there because they're so powerful and they contain so much information for our personal and collective liberation that people often, it's kind of an awkward conversation. There's not a lot of public conversation about it. So one of the things that we can change our languaging about it is from saying like, oh, crop circles are really weird, like it's a bunch of weird stuff. You know, one of the new languages is when you're talking with someone and you want to give them a little bit of interesting evidence that says maybe there's another level of intelligence going on here. You can refer to it as biophysical anomalies. So those are most of the tidbits that I'm going to give you of really cool stuff that happens to the environment with the crop circles. You know, and I don't even like to really engage the conversation of man-made, but because you'll see afterwards why. I will keep repeating biophysical anomalies because it sounds awesome, and then you throw in a little factoid, and then the conversation's like, oh, there's something going on here. I think that's everything. Mostly energetic here, so a little bit we'll go into the images, and then a little after an hour we'll go into some Q&A. Okay? Thank you. So one of the things that I'm going to do is the images will go on behind me, and I'm not actually going to stop and pause with them because we have so many that I'd like to get through. So feel free to just be, you know, interfacing and staring at the crop circle. And it's hard to move away from some of them, and it will feel a little bit abrupt, but we do have to keep moving. We're going to watch a 4-minute clip in a second about how these crop circles, again, are not only three-dimensional, but multi-dimensional. And the little clip will help us see them 3D and not in 2D. And I wish I could pause with every circle, but I can't because there's so much information on all of them. Let's see. So about in 1991, crop circles have been happening for a long time. But in 1991 is really when they started coming into a collective consciousness where we really started noticing, oh, there's something going on in the fields. This is my new favorite. That one is just extraordinary. All of these images come from Pinterest. And I realized as I was trying to do a backup to save my crop circle images the other day, I have over 720 images, that's part of how you can really get a little bit hooked on these because you just start going through like, I don't have that one. Oh my God, look at that. And this, you know, again, I'm here to normalize a process that can be really pretty far out. If any of you remember Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it's very much that experience. This is another one of my new favorites. We'll talk about this in a minute. The lay of the crop is also just as potent as the design. And then they, quote unquote. When I say they, what I'm basically referring to is a non-human intelligence. that we used to, the common language would be extraterrestrial, but that has shifted to acknowledge that there's way more going on than even on the physical realm. So non-human intelligence, NHI, right? You can throw that around. There's been a progression from, early 90s, and we'll see a couple of them. They start to, as the disinformation movements sort of upped their ante to cover up the information in the crop circles up their ante in how sophisticated they are. A lot more information and designs and suggestions that there's really some significant information trying to be shared with us. This one's not so subtle, actually. And this one, we're going to see this one a little bit down the road. This one was actually made in 3 stages, because some of them happen in phases. This was one of the first ones that hooked me. One of the things that happens when you're introduced to the crop circles is the passion about it and the obsession comes in waves. And it'll sort of activate within me, and then I'll have some downloads, and I think I need to integrate them. And so there's this real pacing. I realize I'm talking fast because I want to get so much information in, so I'm going to try to modulate a little bit here and breathe while we watch this little video. This is a 4-minute clip from the movie Thrive. This was back, I think, in early 2000s, and there's a new one coming out. I highly recommend it. They're free and available online. The movie Thrive was Foster Gamble decided to funnel all his money into new technologies and progressive ideas. And so this is a couple minutes of a clip about crop circles, actually.
Out of all of the evidence for the existence of UFOs, one extraordinary phenomenon continues to astonish and inspire me. The appearance throughout the world of so-called crop circles. These elaborate designs appear mysteriously swirled into crops of grain in such a way that the stalks are bent over, yet remain alive. More than 5,000 of these patterns have appeared in over 30 countries, most of them in England. The media has led many people, including me at first, to write these crop patterns off as hoaxes, the nighttime work of a few pranksters. Of course, there have been faked versions, but those made by human hands are crude compared to the vast majority of these elegant creations. Could hoaxers have created all 5,000 of these patterns? Could a few people with ropes and boards have created something as complex and beautiful as this one, made in the dead of night in a driving rain and leaving no footprints in the soil? The electromagnetic field over the area where the crop's been laid down to create the image is often electrostatically charged. Some of these areas are littered with strange magnetic particles. One of the most amazing crop designs is not a circle, but a rectangle that seems to be a direct response to a message sent out into space in 1974. The message was a radio signal depicting our planet's location in our solar system and Earth's people, in hopes that it might be received and interpreted by an extraterrestrial intelligence. 27 years later, in 2001, this crop design appeared in England, along with what could be a self-portrait of the sender. This message matches the format of the NASA signal and describes a different solar system from ours, a picture of the sender, non-human DNA, and a microwave antenna they apparently used to communicate, rather than the radio antenna that we used. The antenna symbol had appeared a year earlier in exactly the same field, right next to a working radio wave antenna, like the one NASA used to send out the original signal. NASA continues to officially deny extraterrestrial contact of any kind. And yet, year after year, these spectacular creations appear. So what might these remarkable designs mean? Here are some two-dimensional versions that seem to be revealing the torus in 3D. Here is the vector equilibrium. And the related pattern of 64 that we saw encoded in the arts of so many ancient cultures. When I saw the coherence between the crop circles and the ancient encodings, I thought regardless of whoever created them and wherever they're from, there must be an important purpose to these designs. They're so coherent. I've come to believe that the pattern of the torus and the vector equilibrium, especially in the form of the 64 tetrahedron crystal, is showing us how energy works in the universe so that we can learn to align with it. I believe that they're giving us a model for accessing energy in a clean, safe, and limitless way, and a new means of propulsion. What more important message could there be to get to us, and especially now, from their perspective, as we're beginning to extend our careless reach beyond our planet?